All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the October Coffee Chat. It's nice to be with you this morning. If I'm meeting you for the first time over Zoom, my name is Douglas Nelson. I'm the principal here at Wooten. And some of you might be visiting, having attended one of these before, but if this is your first time, just a little context, the Coffee Chat is really an opportunity for parents and community members to carry forward some questions that might be on your mind. I'm going to do my very best to answer those questions to the degree that I can. Sometimes it is a question that leads me to something I have to look into and come back with a response. But either way, our purpose is really to receive that question. And then sometimes questions lead to other questions. So we're going to talk through 4 questions that have been submitted this morning. And of course, if there's additional follow-up or places you want to go from there, we will do that this morning. And we will take questions while we have them. And once we have addressed some of those questions, we will wrap up. We have scheduled an hour to be here. So if you're with us for that full hour, that's wonderful, but stay for as long as you can. And this is, of course, being recorded by Nikki, our PTSA treasurer. Just a big thank you to her for helping us facilitate that. It's a big help. Just wanted to take an opportunity before we step into the 4 submitted questions, and I'll go over how we do that in just a moment. Just wanted to plug a couple reminders that are out there. I really wanted to do my due diligence in talking to the community specifically about the seal of biliteracy. So in the community messages I've been sending out, our World Languages Department is sharing information about the seal of biliteracy assessment that students can take. If you are an 11th or a 12th grader, MCPS is going to sponsor at least one opportunity for you to sit for the seal of biliteracy. This assessment is to determine if students are fluent and proficient in a second language. And I want to make sure that I give voice to this because I just think that that is such an important skill for students to have. If you've studied a second language, and Spanish, French, maybe Chinese, and you are proficient in that and want to get a designation on your diploma, the seal of biliteracy will help you do that. And a number of states around the United States and now Maryland will give that designation. So please check out the community message, spread the word about this. Wooten has good numbers, but we want to see those numbers expand for our students because I really think that that is a skill that future employers, as well as just kind of living your life in this world, it's important to be proficient and know another language. So we want to recognize that. And then just a really quick reminder, if anyone is planning to have your child sit for an AP exam, remember those exam fees are due by November 1st. So there's information again in the community update if you want to make sure you have those paid. Okay, so those plugs are out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and review the first of our 4 questions. We're going to step right through these, and I'm going to read them verbatim as they've been submitted. So first question for today. I have a question about the school name. How can my voice be heard regarding school name change? I totally disagree with changing our school name. Our school name has a long history and a good reputation. So many graduates take pride in our school. If the name changes, all of that will be gone, and that will surely harm our school's sustainable growth. I believe many parents and graduates will agree with me. So we'll start with school name change just in general. What I want everyone to be aware of, and the school system also, is that the Board of Education has shared a new policy for renaming schools, or upgraded policy maybe. It is FFA. Policy FFA is about the process in which you seek to have a school name revisited and changed. So there was a community meeting that was held earlier this month that provided just factual information about that policy. And so I think that to get to the heart of this question, which is how can your voice be heard, what I would like everybody on this Zoom to know is that at the school level, we don't have control over the name of our school. That is from the Board of Education. And so where would you want to go to have your voice be heard about school name change? It is to the Board of Education. And so if there is a petition submitted to have the name of Wooten assessed, it will be received and it will move to your board. And as principal, I'm here to help get that information out to you. If you want a question clarified or you want me to give my read on the policy, I'm here to help you with all of that. As for what happens with that policy and its implementation, it does not happen here at Wooten. So just know that I can help you with those questions, but I really cannot oversee what the board does and how they move through their established board policy. It's not fixed as the school being the center of it. It really is something that the Board of Education itself oversees. So wanted you to know that context, and my recommendation is you would go to your Board of Education if you want to give voice to your concerns. So that's question number one. If there's any follow-up, again, we have an open chat. So question number two, this one is reads as, what is the status of construction of a limited security entry way at the school? Where is Wooten on the list of schools to be rebuilt? What is the status of updating the weight room for athletics? Does Wooten have an NAACP parent rep? And who is it? Okay, so let's step through those incrementally. The first one is status of construction of a limited security entry to the school. So up front, that's a new one to me. I don't believe I have any status in regards to where we are about constructing that. So if there's any more information that you want to provide to me, I might be able to speak to it more, but I'm not sure even what a limited security entryway is. So I don't believe that we have any construction or open work orders in regards to that. So the next one was, where is Wooten on the list of schools to be rebuilt? So Brian Rabin, your PTSA president, is a real expert here, and I have learned a lot from him. So please know that he's a resource and is getting ready to advocate for where we are with school construction. I know that we have been in the queue and been pushed, and then we have been pushed. So I believe that it is now 2029 is where Wooten is. So it's not that we are off the list, but we are further down the line when it comes to school construction. And please know that again is a board oversight about where schools are in the queue to have a school rebuilt. And so we are still on the list, and we are further on that list. What is the status of updating the weight room for athletics? So if this is new information to you, our fabulous boosters, and the PTSA is somewhat involved here as well as Mr. Lightsey, who is our athletic director. They're looking at upgrading the weight room space here at Wooten High School, which would be wonderful. I'm always for better facilities for our students, because you see them access facilities. And it's not just athletics facilities across the school. When you see what students do with upgraded facilities, it's inarguable that it is not a benefit to them. So we want better facilities. The way that this begins for MCPS is we have to partner with them as they oversee our facilities. So you must submit a specific request, and they will come out, they will look at the space, and they'll begin to work with us. Mr. Lightsey just followed up with me this week. We did learn that the initial request that we submitted, the process by which you reach out to MCPS has shifted. So we just resubmitted our request according to the new expectations. So it is in. And then the next step will be, we will hear from most likely facilities management that will be out to take a look at our space, and then they will begin to work with us. So what I would say is it is in process, the weight room, and we are still in our first steps to look at upgrading that space, but it is started. Final question here. Does Wooten have an NAACP parent rep, and who is it? And so, yes, we do have an NAACP rep. So we have a name. I'm going to put that name in the chat, unless Nikki, you think that we should not, but I feel like should we put that out?
Are you talking about the PTSA NAACP rep?
Yes.
The note I gave you. Yeah, so that's Nkem. She's also our African-American parent student network liaison. Those roles were kind of merged together a few years ago. And so, yeah, Nkem Okeke.
So Nkem's name is in the chat if you want. We just need to know who that is. I want everybody.
Yeah, and her PTSA emails on the PTSA website. I can put that in the chat as well.
And I appreciate that question. I'll go back and we'll look at the chat in just a moment, and let's see if any of those follow up with that specific question. Okay, none back to what we just addressed. So those of you that are in the chat, please know I see you there, and I'm going to follow up with you after question 4. So let's take a look at question number 3. During the fall sports season, MCPS has only been providing athletic trainers for Wooten football games. What are the obstacles preventing the vendor from covering all of the Wooten sports teams, and what can parents do to convince MCPS to broker a deal with Pivot to timely treat our kids for injuries that occur during practices and games? So I do know that this has been an issue. Would definitely not acknowledge that our athletic trainer supports. That has been a concern. It's also one that when we are working with the Department of Athletics, we regularly get information. One thing that I do want you to know is that we now have a part-time trainer assigned. We do not yet have a full-time, which is what every MCPS school should have and remains MCPS as well as like Wooten's focus. That is what we need to get here. Our part-time trainer now moves between us and Watkins Mill. So they were here for girls volleyball. They will be here tonight for football. So they don't make it necessarily to every game. That, of course, would be my wish that they would, but I am hopeful that we will get there in time. We at least now have something that we did not have before. So that is some progress. When it comes to what can we do to overcome the obstacles, I'll be very direct with you. When I talk and with individuals in athletics, it is a staffing concern. So that obstacle has been one we have faced in multiple ways, and I don't necessarily know what it is to overcome that obstacle. So if you have some innovative ideas and you want to reach out to me, I will receive them and pass them along to Dr. Sullivan, who is our director of athletics, or anyone on his team like Kathy Green. I am sure they would be open if you have a possible way to overcome that. But I do know that it is staffing that is leading us not to be able to get the athletic trainers. I continue to advocate, definitely continue to monitor, and we're hopeful that we will get full athletic trainers at every high school moving forward. I will say from attending the soccer game last night, there is still support, although not the same expertise as a trainer. But our athletic support team that's there for games, you have an administrator on site for most games. We have someone from the athletic department, whether that be our AD, Mr. Lightsey, or an assistant AD. And then we also have the coaches themselves, and they are supporting, like for some of the students that that had either bumps or a kick that definitely hurt, that ice is being provided. Coaches are monitoring where they are and will intervene as needed. I want you to know that it's not as if there are not supports at all, but of course we would all like to have an athletic trainer there. Question number 4, this one was about National Honor Society inductions. This question is about how parents were notified. So I did a little digging here before jumping on the coffee chat. I just wanted to if you have a child who was inducted into National Honor Society, what an honor. Congratulations to everybody. Had a chance to be a part of that induction and deliver some comments. I remember when I was inducted to National Honor Society, it really is not only the designation that comes along with joining that group, but how much service goes into being a part, and that I just think is preparing students to be great citizens in our world. So I'm so proud of everybody that was at National Honor Society. It was great. When it came to communication, this is how individuals were notified. So NHS uses a Remind app specifically to students. And so the student leadership wants to oversee putting out information. Like that is something our students, they want to be a part of, putting together their event and communicating that. So that is how communication goes out. But what I know about communication is that does not always mean that individuals receive that communication. So that is how individuals receive notification to go, is over the Remind app, but that does not necessarily mean that you got it. So if the individual who submitted that question is here this morning and there is a way that you would have preferred to receive notice, or a way that really would have met your needs, so you got that information, I am inferring here that you did not know about it, then please send them my way. The sponsors are very open. Ms. Bauer and Ms. Stepling are open if there's another way to communicate that information. So please know that door is open to you if you have a recommendation for us. Okay, so those are the 4 questions that I have for this morning. And we have some items in the chat, so I'm going to take a moment to review those. So I have a question here, and this is it too late for a 10th grader to join the newspaper? How would they get involved now? Great question. I don't know if I have all of the details to this answer, but I might be able to tell you where to go. So my understanding is that most of our students on the newspaper also take the course. So one thing to go back to is your 10th grader taking journalism? Our teacher here is Ms. Starr. She's absolutely wonderful and produces such a great publication. You would start by wanting to take the class. Now, I don't know if there's additional involvement outside the class, but the person that can help with that is Ms. Starr, and you can find her. She is on the 2nd floor near the English department. And you can just stop by and find a time to ask that question. I imagine we might have some photographers or students that are doing other parts of the newspaper that are not necessarily taking the journalism course that goes along with producing our publication. So my recommendation, if you want to be involved now, is stop by and talk with Ms. Starr. Second question, is there a bocce team at Wootton in the winter for 2022-2023? And did enrollment start? If it is a winter athletic sport, so we should have bocce. I can see as attending some events, I can see that our bocce team has won some county and regional events. So we have a bocce team. Under the Wootton website, under the athletics tab, you're going to see all of our sports by season, fall, winter, and spring. I would take a look at that. And if it is a winter sport, and I'm sorry, I can't actually place it, what season it is, but if it's a winter sport, that enrollment is open now. So information is in the community update if you want to take a look at that. And I believe it stays open until early November. So it's not too late if you want to enroll in bocce. Check out the information in the update. And I would go to the athletics website from the Wootton website, and you will find more details there. If you asked a question about Wootton rebuild, please know there's a comment in there with a specific date. Okay, let's take a look at this one for drop off in the morning. And I'm glad this one's coming up again because I have some additional information and just some observations to share as well. So this one says, thank you, Mr. Nelson, for being very visible during morning drop-off. The lower lot drop-off and parking is still nightmarish and numerous safety issues. Students walk through the parking lot regardless of whether they have parked in spots or walking from surrounding neighborhoods. They do walk right through the lot, that's true. Students walk in between cars and in drop-off lanes without paying attention. Similar behavior and inattention during afternoon pickup. So what can be done to improve the situation? Should there be designated and marked crossing areas near the gymnasium, better signage, more visibility, security officers, parkway advertising for students not to cross between cars? Okay. I believe that is very accurately described about how our students come through the parking lot. We had this question the last time we were in coffee chat, and I did go down to just do a couple more observations. And, by and large, I believe our drop-off process is designed to do what we've established for it to do. And I think that students are going to walk regardless of those suggestions. So I will carry this forward and bring it to security to take a look at it. And maybe we'll get a different response here at Wootton. But one thing I want to share with you all, for 3 years, I had the drop-off loop at another high school in MCPS. And we worked on signage, communication, and we did work on specific crosswalks because my school before this was BCC. At BCC, they had to cross a road in order to get into the drop-off to come in from the drop-off entrance. And standing even out there with students, like standing in the middle of the road, did not even prompt them to use the crosswalk. I do believe that teenagers just walk, and I know that that is dangerous. So the first thing I want to say is we have to be mindful. This has been my experience of our kids. They just walk. We can work on talking with them more, but I do not always see, particularly our older students, responding to that additional messaging. But that is why I think it's important to have adults down there and really take our time, because they are just going to walk across the parking lot. That's what I see. But again, I'll acknowledge that. I will carry it back to the security team, see what we've been doing, and maybe we can start working on getting you some type of response. Here's a question about, is Wootton still on the redistricting list for the new Crown High School. Any updates on that? So no updates, Mr. Shapiro, no updates on where we are, but I believe I remember reading maybe about 6 weeks ago, last time I checked that website, that yes, we're still on the list, but there's been no updates or information about how that is going to work. Generally though, if the wheels start to move on that, information comes to the school, but no updates currently. This is a question about criteria for the Honor Society that you just discussed. So criteria, so I'm going to take this to National Honor Society, recognizing we have other honor societies out there. But that was the one I was addressing in the earlier comments, which seems like Ms. Bailey, that's what you're referencing. So the criteria for Honor Society, there has to be one, right? And it can be specific to the school, but is really overseen by National Honor Society itself. So National Honor Society, they stipulate specific, aspects of what you have to use to accept students into your Honor Society. And our sponsors, Ms. Stepling, Ms. Bauer, they would be able to speak specifically to the exact criteria. So GPA is definitely one of them, but there will be others. I can't say specifically point by point at Wooten, but that will be good for me to learn. But they will be able to specifically say what criteria is used. I also do recommend going to the sponsors on that one, because oftentimes when I've gotten this question before about the criteria then oftentimes connects to the process. They really go hand in hand, and schools will establish a process that is their own and not necessarily just like another school's process. So I would want to kind of know then, once a student meets the criteria, then how are they looked at for acceptance? And sometimes very simple and straightforward, and sometimes there are a couple of steps that go along with it. So when it comes to the criteria, if you would like to learn more about that, please reach out to Ms. Bauer, please reach out to Ms. Stepling, and I know they'll be able to get you more details on that. Ron, thank you for confirming bocce is a winter sport. Some more information from Mr. Shapiro in here about the opening date for Crown High School, 2/27, sounds about right. And thank you for providing the link for anyone that wants to access that. For those of you that are following along in the chat, thank you, Brian Rabin, for putting some information about public testimony coming up. Brian has done an amazing job communicating this and really centering it around the purpose. So I just want to commend him, thank him for all of that advocacy, but just want to center everybody here. This is a group that has shown up on a Friday morning early to participate in this dialogue, which means I think we share the idea of how important advocacy is, and parent advocacy and student advocacy. They're so important. So if there is a chance that this is important to you and you really seek this, then I want to really recommend you connect with our PTSA. Being there, even if it's just your presence, is meaningful. And I really want to encourage you to lean into this. So please know, a lot of people are working on advocacy for a new building. Okay, we have some comments, so thank you all for participating in this dialogue over chat. I'm just checking with everybody right now. I'm going to give a little bit of time. If anyone has an additional question that they would like to pose, please do so in the chat, or feel like we've gotten to maybe about 9 or 10 topics at this point. If there is any follow-up or further clarification that you would like to give, please let me know in the chat. Are there signups for college rep visits? I don't know the answers to that, Mr. Shapiro. But I can tell you a couple things about college rep visits. Students receive information about them through Naviance. Ms. Carr puts them out weekly to students, and then they get a sign reminder in the main hallway, the entrance to the building, that shows you who is coming in. I am sorry, I do not know exactly if then you have to sign up. Some of those visits, it just looks like students are kind of coming in based on self-identifying. But if you would like me to, Mr. Shapiro, you let me know if you want me to ask that question of Ms. Carr. I can ask her to send you a direct email, or if you're comfortable reaching out to her, I know she'll be able to answer that one so quick. You just let me know what you would like. Oh, there's one from a reply. It looks like kids sign up through Naviance. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So the same platform in which you get the notice about the college visit is the same platform by which you can express interest in going. That very common sense approach.
I just want to remind everyone, you can put a question in the chat, but you can also come off mute if you don't want to deal with the chat. Feel free to do that.
Any other questions out there in the chat, or just share them openly?
Well, if nobody has anything right now, I'm going to take a second and plug something I'm working on. You might have seen an email I sent out yesterday for the Holiday Helping Hands program. That's kicked off this year, and we're really excited about it. All the information is on our website. I'll put a link in the chat box, but we'd love it if you would show some support for that. And I know a lot of people already have in the past few years, and we really appreciate it. We're really working this year. It's been a real struggle to get the other schools involved, and that's kind of a big mission for me this year, is making sure all the parents at all the cluster schools are involved in supporting the program and not just Wooten parents. But if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. And it looks like we have a question in the chat now for you.
I see that. Thank you, Nikki. Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Revisiting this one. The last meeting, there was a question about how grading goes. Can you clarify the answer to that? Quarter 1A and quarter B. What are the semester grades? Also the reverse, right? So the last time we were there is a grade chart that makes this very, very clear, right? Because MCPS stipulates different combinations, that if you have a first quarter letter A and a second quarter letter B, then what grade do you receive based on that combination, right? What I would recommend, if this one is something you're still seeking clarity, right? Please email me directly and let me send you the chart so that you can see that and you will have that as a reference. And we are happy to share those combination chart directly. I'm not sure that MCPS totally puts that out like as on a specific website to direct you to, but I can get you a screenshot and then you can reference that. If you do email me directly, what I would also share with you is it changes from time to time. I've never seen it change mid-year or during the academic year, but when grading policy is looked at, it can be updated. So please know that this might change, but for this year, they are generally consistent. So please reach out to me.
Yeah, I put one in the chat that I found on a quick Google search. It looks like maybe it's on the Quince Orchard website, maybe. It says it's from the 2016-2017 school year. I don't know if it's changed since then.
If they ever change, right. And Nikki, if they ever do change, what happens is our resource teachers, so every department at the school has a resource teacher. So let's say it's math, for example, our resource teacher is Ms. White. They go to monthly meetings. And if the Office of Curriculum and Instructional Programs makes an adjustment like that, you receive it at that meeting and then it comes back down to the school and then we have the updated information. So it doesn't change often. It's usually pretty consistent. But again, email me directly. I'll make sure that you have the updated one and you'll know those combination charts. All right, well, we might have gotten through all of our questions at this point in time. Please know that we will have other meetings just like this. So if one comes to mind and you can wait, like, please join us next month. I'd love to see a group just like this joining us and like interacting. Anything else from anyone on this Zoom? Nikki, anything you want to add?
I don't think so. Our next general membership meeting for the PTSA is, let me see, November 15th. It's always the third Tuesday of the month. December will be our annual alumni meeting where we have students who've graduated in the last year or two who come back and talk to all of you, you and your students. We do it virtually. We do it in breakout rooms. And so you can ask whatever questions you have of them. It's always very well received. Students really enjoy it. And I think a lot of times the teachers enjoy seeing the students as well that have graduated. So it's a great program. So make sure you tune into that. But, I think that's all I've got right now.
Great, Nikki. Thank you so much. And I have, just 3 items to follow up. I want you to know that I'll follow up based on kind of this conversation to continue to advocate for athletic trainers. I agree that that is a need. I will pull the security team together to look at lower lots and see their observations, see what we can do for messaging and additional communication to students so that they are safe down there. So we will take a look at that. And then to Mr. Shapiro, I'll follow up with Ms. Carr for you. So those are the items that I have. And thanks for everybody for being with us this morning. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you're coming to the football game tonight, see you there. And have a great day.